All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Williston Rotary. Happy November. We have a couple of guests today. Jay and Jane are visiting us. I guess they know our speaker, who I will let, I think Barb wants to introduce our speaker. Okay. And we are to start with a Rotary Minute from Susan. Because Rick and I are going on a trip to Italy.
Yay.
And, I got curious about history of Rotary in Italy, so I did a Google search and I came upon a full scan of a book published in 1930. This is what the of it looks like. Italy and Rotary. So 1930, which is just the 25th anniversary of the founding of the first Rotary Club in 1905 in Chicago. And in their little preface, they say this work is an expression of friendship and our desire to give our fellow Rotarians abroad a clearer vision of Italy and Italian life. If these pages will help our friends to better understand our country and leave the reader with a desire to visit or revisit Italy, we will consider this publication as a definite contribution to the great object of Rotary to promote the advancement of understanding, goodwill, and international peace. So the very first Rotary Club was begun in Milan in June 1923. Mr. James Henderson and Mr. Leo Culleton, two prominent British businessmen who had resided in Italy for many years, gathered a small group of Italian businessmen to form the nucleus of the Rotary Club. And after having regular meetings and getting all organized, they were finally formally inaugurated in November of 1923. So that's just, less than 5 years from the end of World War I. In 1924, so just the following year, 7 more clubs were founded in Italy. And then in 1925, 5 more. So now there were clubs in Trieste, Genoa, Turin, Rome, Naples, Palermo, Venice, Florence, where we're going, Leghorn, Bergamo, Parma, and Canea. And they formed a new Rotary district for Italy. And one section of the book is about the Italian clubs and their community service. And Italian Rotarians have been most active, the book says, in the field of community service. And then they give a highlight of, in these few short years, some of the amazing accomplishments of these clubs, and I'm just going to share a couple of them. The Rotary Club of Bologna has taken a lively interest in all enterprises for the improvement and progress of the city in every field of activity. By its initiative, an institute has been organized for building houses for the poorest class of citizens. This idea is about to be put into execution by means of a considerable legacy lately left by the city of Bologna for the creation of the institution suggested by the Rotary Club. And the Rotary Club of Florence. In 1926, they founded a biennial scholarship for a student of economic and commercial science. In the same year, it founded a Rotarian Institute for engaging pupils of the elementary schools of Florence and the arts and crafts. This institution, to which the club contributed 10,000 lira a year, I have no idea how much money that is already in operation with excellent results and has won the applause of the municipal authorities. In 1927, the Florence Club promoted an Italian Optical Association, which has already gathered a large number of members and proposes to encourage the growth of optical science in Italy, both from the scientific point of view and from that of its application to industry. In 1928 and 1929, it gave premiums of 1,000 lira to a young artist chosen to meet exhibitors in the regional exhibition of Tuscan artists. And there's many, many other examples covering all kinds of other good community works, including municipal planning and elementary school student support, all kinds of things in just a few years. It's kind of encouraging to know that all around the world, there are good people working hard to do good things in their communities. And that started, long ago, early in the 20th century. with the first Rotary clubs and continue.
I hope you have an amazing trip. Do you think you'll go to a Rotary Club while you're there?
Maybe we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. It's pretty neat to hear the history of it. Now you need to go, I think. All right, Barb, would you like to introduce our speaker?
I am. Patrick Nathaniel Brown modestly refers to himself as a community developer. This is a gentleman originally from Jamaica who has served on boards of the Fletcher Free Library, Burlington College, United Way, City Market. He's a trustee of St. Mike's College. He's taught at UVM and has been a member of the Vermont Board of Education and the Vermont Council on World Affairs. And in 2023, he received the City of Burlington's Legacy Award, amongst many of his other accolades. A few months ago, I was invited to his home in Burlington with some good friends to enjoy some Caribbean treats and to hear his amazing stories, excuse me, including how he's brought Desmond Tutu to Vermont. I am certain you will be equally enchanted. I'm honored to introduce him. Is it formally Dr. He doesn't like that. Okay, here comes Pat. Come over here.
Thank you. So good morning, everyone. I'm just excited to be here. And I now know that the citizens of Williston, Vermont wake up with the birds. So Barb, I don't know how you got that biographical information because
Everything's on the internet.
it's classified information. So thank you for this very, very kind invite. And I'm honored to be among you this morning and with so many familiar faces. There is so much that we can talk about on a morning like this. We can talk about the past, we can talk about the present, and we can talk about the future. As a matter of fact, I'm going to try to touch on all three. The past out of which we have emerged, the present that we're serving, and the future that we must help to create. In 1905, a gentleman by the name of Paul Harris founded the first Rotary in the United States. He was from Chicago. Today, Rotary clubs exist across many, many, many continents. This is the platform on which a lot of things happen, a lot of humanitarian efforts happen. And as I think about coming here to talk about my own experiences, I reflect that I'm actually part of carrying out, executing the mission of Paul Harris among cultures, among different organizations, among different people, young and old, diversity in its fullest portions. So I left Jamaica as a teenager to do my undergraduate studies in Montreal, Canada, and never thought of myself as an activist. But I became engaged right out of the gate. So I think Barb must have missed this because on October 21st, 2024, my undergraduate university published a full biographical information about me. And the title is Alumnus Settles in Burlington, Vermont, and is part of the fabric estate. And so that went live on October 21st, and before they could send me an official link, people in Vermont picked up on it and started talking about it. And, I've been getting a lot of invites. This is one of the many, and I'm just so honored to be with you. And we can no longer focus on the election. Let us focus on ourselves today. We've had enough of it. So after Concordia in Montreal, where I did things that I even forgot. I thought that I was writing for the student newspaper. I thought I hosted a show on their radio. I was at the forefront of discussions on race relations, and only to find out recently that the university published a report. They did a study on race relations, and that I pivotal in that report. I still haven't seen the report. I probably have to get. Is there anyone here who's an attorney, who's a lawyer? So I am looking forward to that report, but that's where it all started. After studying in Montreal, Canada, I came here to attend St. Michael's College. Arrived in Burlington, not having a designated place to stay as a graduate student. We don't have access to housing on campus. So I went to the YMCA in Burlington, as most places, most cities have a residential component for their YMCA, and realized that Champlain College had leased all their dormitory spaces. I was on the bus heading over to St. Mike's, and my plan was maybe I could sleep on a park bench or something. On the bus. There were two students on the bus, and we started talking. Tom O'Keefe and his roommate, after all this time, we're still in touch, because this is an important piece in my history here. And they decided they were going to hide me in their dorm room. And they did for 2 nights. So imagine being in a dorm room on a campus where today I'm in my second 3-year term as a trustee. And so I started my life in Burlington, Vermont, getting engaged in different organizations, carrying on the dream of Paul Harris, community engagement, trying to make a difference in the world. After graduating from St. Michael's College, I got my first job at Digital Equipment Corporation in Human Resources. 2 years later, they announced that they were downsizing. I followed my instincts, and I kept in touch with a whole bunch of folks that were at Digital. And that is why I say to you, networking is very important. Networking can open so many doors. So it's community engagement. It is because of community engagement that I am able to open many doors for refugees and immigrants and others. After Digital, I opened a small Caribbean eatery in Burlington called the Caribbean Corner, which served as a meeting place. It was the hub of the ethnic community. And I could speak all morning about the different stories, the different benefits of folks that happen there. Our re-elected Senator Bernie Sanders had 3 re-election dinners there. He would have been there this week having his re-election dinner. And I'm gonna tell you, he spoke nonstop for almost 3 hours in those dinners. He spoke at the sir, big course and dessert. And no one got a word in. So I have a good relationship with Bernie, and then did serve under his wife Jane as a trustee at Burlington College. And that's why I say it's so, so important. I also have a good relationship with Senator Leahy. And Senator Leahy took me to Washington to the African American Leadership Summit. And that's where I met Hillary Clinton for the first time, and many, many others. And this is how my experiences lined up, because I needed the help of our elected representatives to have others who were in need, especially in the refugee and immigrant community. So digital, restaurant, and our community engagement. So I am in my 32nd year of organizing the annual Burlington Dr. Martin Luther King program. I actually got the state of Vermont to recognize the King holiday because Vermont was one of 4 states that did not acknowledge the King holiday. And so Governor Dean and his then Secretary of Administration, Kathy Hoyt, was her name, and the State Employees Union all thought it was a good idea, and they made it happen. So when the intent is good, things will work out. I did not stop at that. I made it possible for each year I have a national speaker come into Burlington to speak. I just got off the phone on Monday with the US ambassador to Tanzania. And he was highly recommended. And I'm sure I'm going to be hearing from him again soon because he wanted to wait until after the election to decide whether he'll be in Tanzania or the United States. But he did also alert me that a very high profile, and I'm not going to say her name, lady who worked under the Clinton and the Obama administration, she was an ambassador to the UN, lives here in Vermont. This is somebody that I've been asked time and time again to bring to Burlington. And now it's a lot easier knowing I've got to find her house. So there are a lot of important people who quietly live in our state. We know. So one of the first speakers that I brought was Anita Hill. And this was at the height of the Clarence Thomas controversy. She got a packed house and a dynamic speech. Everyone was there. Bernie himself was sitting on that stage. He was beside himself. Peter Clavel called it a crossroads of gender and race. And so Anita Hill began her speech by saying, when I called, she had to look on the map to see where Burlington, Vermont was. It was a very, very cold January afternoon. And she added that no matter what the temperature outside, she will always remember Burlington as a warm place. There has been a lot of other speakers. To my credit and to the credit of the community, I am the face, but I'm not in this business alone. There are a lot of people in the background helping me one way or the other. And so, other notable speakers, Archbishop Desmond Tutu. And I am linking Archbishop's visit back to keeping my relationship with folks from digital, because it was a former HR director from Digital Equipment Corporation that helped me to get a free private jet to fly the Archbishop from John F. Kennedy into Burlington. It was a requirement. I asked around the city of Burlington. I should have asked folks in Williston. Do you know anyone that has a private plane? And no one did. The Burlington Free Press, then the Burlington Free Press, broke the story, and there were 7 private planes lined up to fly the Archbishop to Burlington. And they were very competitive. Gentleman by the name of John Dwight Asset Management, had a newer model, but Jake Burton from Burton Snowboards had one that had actually crossed the Atlantic. They were lined up and very competitive. However, I find it each speaker comes with a story. There's a story behind every single speaker that I have brought here, and but we're not going to go down that road this morning. And I say all this to say, this is a wonderful community. I don't think I'd have fared as well in other cities, in other states, as I have in this very, very supportive community. And I am happy to be here. I am one of the longer term ones, African American, living here and helping others to fulfill the dream of Paul Harris. There's always that one person who has a dream. Dr. Martin Luther King had a dream also. And his dream, at times I say, is a dream deferred, because we've not accomplished the dream of racial equity, of equity period in this country. Sometimes I think we're heading in the right direction, but at times I think we've taken steps backward. And so Paul Harris, the founder of the Rotary International, I call it Rotary International, because there are Rotary clubs, even in developing countries. We used to call them third world countries. There are several Rotaries in my homeland of Jamaica. There's one in Kingston, there's one in Santa Cruz, there's one in Black River, there's one in Montego Bay. They're all over the place, and they have regular meetings. They contribute to education, healthcare, and much more. And so I acknowledge Rotarians. I acknowledge folks for getting up at this time of the morning and coming in here. It's it's quite a dedication. And so, and it's a generational thing, I'm telling you, because young folks, even young students, they're still in bed. And so, I am going to say to you, my journey is not over. There's still a lot of work to be done. And I'm asking all of you to help in whatever way you can to carry on the message, to tell the story, not just the story of diversity, equity, and inclusion, but the humanitarian story, the story of helping others. Quite often folks come to see me looking for help, and they have sad stories. And I say to them, if you think your story is hard, wait till you hear someone else's story. So this morning, I was introduced to breakfast, and I'm thinking there are so many this morning that don't have what to eat. There are so many, not just homeless, but so many people who are hungry. not just in developing countries, third world countries, but right here in the United States of America. And sometimes we can look at what other countries are doing and learning from those experiences. So I'm going to make a quick off-script point that, and I share this all the time, that on the island of Costa Rica, and Costa Rica is sometimes described as a Caribbean nation, depending on where you are, because Costa Rica is bordered by countries, and the Caribbean is just one of them. Costa Rica is doing well. Costa Rica is one of two places without a military. Costa Rica has a very high literacy rate. It interplays with Barbados, if you're talking about the Caribbean or Central America. So the reason that Costa Rica has a high literacy rate, who can guess? Who can tell me why?
They spend the money they don't spend on militaries on schools.
Yes, so instead of investing in military, they invest that money in education. Can you imagine if that was the case in the United States? Yes, and so we can learn from other countries. We are, the United States is a superpower, but there's so much that can be done better to help others. And it not only lies in the hands of the elected officials, it lies in the hands of each and every one of it, because we quite often blame the government, we blame the elected officials, but we are also a major player in these decisions. And so I'm talking about my own experiences here in Burlington and talking about international stuff because it all borders on what Paul Harris had in mind for our community, for the people of the United States. And by your very presence here this morning, you all believe in humanitarian values, you all believe in community, and we're moving on and moving together, hopefully in the right direction sometimes. And as a people, we're facing challenges, but we're hopefully addressing these challenges as a group, as a team, and not just relying on the government. So I plan to continue in Burlington. I plan to continue organizing programs. I have a program called the Diversity Speaker Series, and it's a very popular program. And I have with me this morning a flyer from the last event, which was a virtual with one of the leading authors in our country, Isabel Wilkerson, The Warmth of Other Suns and Cats. So Isabel has accepted the invite to come in person on April 30th, and I'll just have to change the date on this. It's the same person, same organization. And so I invite you to come and hear her message on April 30th, which will be publicized. And so one last thing I'm going to share with you that, and Barbara probably didn't see this. There is a book in which I have a full page. It's called Legendary Locals of Burlington. And I say I'm honored to be included in this book with Bernie and Ben and Jerry and all of this. But I still, again, I need the help of an attorney, because if I'm featured in this book, they should be sending me a check. So all that being said, I am encouraged, I am motivated. I want to end by thanking you for the kind invite to speak to you briefly this morning. And I'll end with a brief story. And this sums up my experience around race, class, gender, and all of the attributes of diversity. Because I lived in Montreal, I did my undergrad in Montreal. I visit Montreal quite often. And during one of my visits, I went to the casino. I don't know if any of you have ever been to a casino, but I went to the casino in Montreal. And there I saw Paul Harris's dream. I also saw Dr. Martin Luther King's dream. Men, women of diverse cultural backgrounds, folks with disability, folks with ability, rich, poor, all the ethnicities you could think of, equally losing their money. Thank you. Yes.
I wouldn't say it's so much a question. I was driving here listening to the news. They were referring to the fact that there's the potential for the Department of Education to be eliminated in the next group of people that are supposedly lead our country. And I was thinking of what you were saying, and that it was education that brought you from Jamaica to Canada and to here. And you're the perfect example of how important that really is. So thank you very much for who you are and what you're doing, and for being here today, because I know that I'm really impressed with what you've done. And I'm hoping that the rest of us can even slightly follow in your footsteps. So thank you for what you're doing.
Okay, thank you. So just a quick response, eliminating education. So we will not let that happen. We cannot let that happen. There has been a movement afoot already to remove textbooks from the local libraries and from the bookshelves. There has been movement afoot to decide what teachers can teach and not teach in the school system. We cannot let that happen. Now, the educational system. So what I did here, and this has been quite a while, talk about defunding schools, just like defunding the police. What kind of country do we want to live in? Do we want to live in a country where the educational system is decided by a very small minority? And so my response to you, the folks that are bold to propose that needs to be educated themselves. Thank you. Yes.
So of all the important, quote unquote, important people that you've met, who has impressed you the most?
Okay. You know, they've all been great. They've all been easy to manage, and not who has impressed me personally the most, but who resonated most with the audiences. So Anita Hill came twice, and people still speak of Archbishop Desmond Tutu. He was very easy to handle. He didn't want a limousine picking him up. He just wanted an ordinary car. And he was out meeting people all over the place. So there's been a lot of very impressive speaker. Last year, the speaker, young mayor from Talladega, Alabama, he was 23 years old when he got elected and became, even before he was installed as mayor. And he's a third grade school teacher and, doing really well so far. And Susan Johnson Cook, she's a the older Southern Black lady. She served as an ambassador in the Obama administration, and she's had a lot of pivotal roles in the federal government. So someone met her on a flight back from Italy, a matter of fact. She sat next to her and came back and said, Patrick, you need to get her. And so she accepted the invite, she came, and the audiences loved her. I think she's connected with some folks in the community for a retreat this past summer. But she was also good friends with the King family. She, their families were extremely close, so she could speak to Dr. King's legacy. But she, and the audience was with her all the way. And she ended her speech, her MLK speech, by saying, I am Susan Johnson Cook, and I endorse this message. So there has been a lot of, and there's been a lot of speakers who come and came back for a vacation or came back to visit Burlington, Vermont. And one of the speakers that I am forgetting, and I keep forgetting her, was Cicely Tyson. Do you even know that Cicely Tyson came? So Cicely Tyson flew into Boston, and there was a lot of folks at the then Sheraton waiting to greet her. There was a reception for her. She flew into Boston and realized it was a small plane to Burlington then, and she doesn't fly small planes. So she needed a car service to Burlington and didn't get here until the wee hours of the night morning. So, yeah.
I'm gonna have to cut you off.
Okay, thank you. I like that piece. Okay, thank you very much.
Because of your gracious presentation, which could go on for hours, as you can well imagine. Our club is going to make a donation in your honor to the Connecting Youth Mentoring Program.
And we need you to choose the winning raffle.
I knew I had to do something.
For you. You can get
653.
653.
Right here.
All right.
Hey.
Thank you so much for being here. All right. Now it's time for more inspiration. Sherry, are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
There we go. Okay, so because when I do these, that's what I do. And I pulled up a bunch of different quotes from famous people. And I printed off a half dozen of them here. And the one that sticks with me is this one from Richard Byrd. And I'm going to change one word in it, which is the second word. Few men. I'm going to go with people. So few people during their lifetime come anywhere near exhausting the resources welling within them. There are deep wells of strength that are never used. This is all of us, right? This reflects Rotary's belief in the potential of every individual, all of us, to contribute significantly in our society. I took that as no more of the I can't do that, because deep within my well, I can do anything. So Which is why, say I have my motorcycle license or I have my hunting license. I'm making these goals. If I ever thought that I couldn't do it, I wouldn't be doing it, right? So I think, given everything that's happened, in the last few days, I am going to dig deep in my well. I'm gonna go and just keep focused on what I can do in our community with you guys. So you're my inspiration.
Sherry to do the inspiration today because she inspired me so much over the weekend. I spent the whole day on Saturday with her at the craft fair, selling her bowls and cutting boards and candle holders, and she raised over $1,800 for a club. And her work is beautiful. She got so many compliments. It was truly inspiring to see her give so much and also make it an opportunity to talk about Rotary, because that was really my job, talking about Rotary all day. So it was really fun. Thanks for all you do, Sherry.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out with me that day.
Yeah, great. A couple updates. You may remember last week, I think it was, Eric Wells asked for donations for the new temporary shelter. They have a lot of things. He visited yesterday. They need a few more things. So we're looking for bassinets and cribs, feminine hygiene products, toothbrushes and toothpaste, and pads that can go on top of a cot, no mattresses. If you can donate those items, you can reach out directly to Eric so he can coordinate. And I believe his email address is in the email that I sent out to everyone, so you should have it. And then Sally has something to say about the senior luncheon that is coming up in a month.
Yeah, December 11th, Wednesday. I just want you to know I have updated posters. The phone number on last week's poster was wrong, so we now have lots of posters. If you have access to seniors either here or in Richmond, please figure out a place to put a poster so they will know when it's going to be, and they can call the number to make a reservation.
Okay, so grab a poster from Sally for the senior luncheon. Barb, did you have a question?
No, I just wanted to let the group know that both Sally and I were able to purchase and distribute gift cards to both Williston and Richmond schools, to families in need.
Okay,
And the other thing is, the libraries are both being reimbursed for the monies that we gave, that they purchased various kits. And they think,
wonderful. So make donations to libraries and families for holiday gift cards. Thank you for taking care of all of that. I barely even knew it was happening. And if you could email me the details on like how much you spent and what it was for, I will tell the club everything in an email. So we have all the.
it's already been paid thanks to our new treasurer.
Yes, Andy's taking care of all kinds of things. I was also wondering, Rick, if there are any updates on Toys for Kids that you need to put out?
The barrels are going out a week from today. Howard's gonna help me distribute them. There's gonna be a couple, well, I do need one or two new locations. And one thought, that actually Erin mentioned, she has a barrel at her place of work, and she said most of the donations come from employees. And so rather than thinking of it as a public place, if there's any large employers in town, maybe we should put a barrel at that location. So I am looking for one or two more locations.
Wonder about On Logic, that's a pretty big employer. I don't have a contact there, I don't think, but maybe I do, I'll check.
Okay.
All right, thanks for that update. Any other updates?
I have a question about the posters.
Okay,
Leslie gave me two posters on Monday that I got up. Do I need to go and be sure they have the right phone number?
I think she got the corrected ones.
Thank you.
I'll show you what the number is and you can just check.
okay. Chris, your turn.
All right.
Good morning.